Okay, good morning, everyone. If you're here for the Empowering Women in Green Innovation session, it'd be great if you could take your seats in the next few seconds, as we'll be getting underway very shortly. We're going to have this one, but there should. We'll use this one, right? Yeah. All right. Okay, so good morning, everyone. I hope you're having a great start to the morning. I'm super excited to be here today for this Expo event. My name is Esther Bates. I'm the project manager for the Pacific Green Entrepreneurs Network with the Global Green Growth Institute, and very excited to kick off this session today. So I'll just point out on the tables, you'll have a little gift for joining us today. It's a reusable bag, which we hope that you will, in the spirit of reuse and, reducing our impact on the environment, we hope that you will use them well. Great. So I have a lovely panel of ladies on the stage here with me, which is wonderful. And I'll shortly hand over to our moderator, but just to let you know how the session is going to run today. So firstly, we're here to talk about empowering women in green innovation. So we know that women entrepreneurs are underrepresented in traditionally male-dominated sectors, and including innovative fields like green innovation. And women are also more likely to experience the negative effects of climate change and also care deeply about changing their communities and their environment for the better. And I think you'll hear a bit about the passion and commitment of all these ladies soon. Women are strong advocates for green transformation in their nations, but they face many barriers that are even more so than other entrepreneurs that can make pursuing their green ambitions difficult. So today's session is about creating a space for women entrepreneurs and innovators and support providers to share stories, illuminate elements of green entrepreneurship, challenges and opportunities for green entrepreneurs, and hopefully inspire and sharing of ideas as well. So I would like to just mention, if we could move to the next slide, sorry, on the agenda. Just to mention, we have two parts to the panel session today. Can you turn the next slide? Firstly, we have a panel discussion with these lovely ladies up here, and there'll be an audience Q&A after that. And the second part is that we will have an interactive group discussion. So all of you guys have to get your thinking caps on and, share your ideas, your experiences, and please your stories. There's, I'm sure, many, many great stories in this room. So we'll be getting you all involved. And of course, then we'll have a closing and then it'll be lunch. So just so you know, we are really keen to capture what's discussed in this session today, and also in this 2 days event as well. We're actually going to be compiling all the session notes and the ideas. So please do feel that what you do contribute here, we're actually going to be taking on board and seeing what can be done to further support entrepreneurs in this space. Okay, so now it's my pleasure to introduce our moderator. Perhaps next slide, thank you. Natalie, who will moderate the first part of the session. She's Natalie Andre from the Global Green Growth Institute, and she's been living in Fiji for the past 2 years. She's currently GGI's Pacific Adaptation Lead. She has previously worked with GGI at headquarters in Seoul, working on sanitation projects across Nepal and Senegal. And prior to that, she has an extensive background in water and sanitation, working with the likes of UNICEF, UN Water, and WHO. She also has extensive experience as a site engineer, planning and executing major water-related infrastructure in different countries and strategic master plans for water supplies in Malaysia and Indonesia. She holds a master's and bachelor's honours degree in environmental civil engineering from the Universities of Liverpool and University College London. So I can't think of anyone better to moderate the panel. So I'd like to invite Natalie to set the scene and then introduce the panel, please. Thank you.
So thank you very much, Esther. So I'm very honored to be here. I often try and come to the PGen events to get inspiration myself. Working in STEM and more recently in finance, it's great to have inspiration, especially from women entrepreneurs. I think everyone has their story. I had 2 pregnancies on site in Spain, 40-degree heat, and I'm with my big belly, and sometimes I just needed to hear other stories of other women kind of pulling through. And so it's really great to have this amazing panel with all their different stories. Women entrepreneurs face unique challenges. In the Pacific, they're key for livelihoods and economies. And as we look to diversify economies, especially in the Pacific, where women are often employed in tourism, it's great to look beyond. There's also many challenges that the Pacific has that women can contribute to. And SMEs is really at the heart of it. So I'm really happy to be here and to hear those stories. And I hope that we can share with everyone and kind of inspire each other. Yeah. So this morning, the Honourable Minister mentioned innovation. I think innovation is key. Innovation can be many things, new things, research, cutting edge, exciting things, but it can also be bringing things together from traditional practices and bringing other inspiration into it. And this is where I think us women, we're pretty good at this. Yeah, so it's my great pleasure to introduce our panel. So I'll just very briefly describe the 4 ladies here, and then we'll have some questions. So Esther Xion is a jewelry artisan, but with a STEM background. So she started so she's from PNG. She started in geographic information science and worked in the mining industry, and then followed her passion, incorporating both the STEM and her creative sides in jewelry. And she's a winner of the PGen 2021 business plan competition, and also the winner of the PGen Accelerator Best Business Pitch for PNG. And I thought it was really great what she's managed to do. She's using her passion in fashion to also address some of the challenges in PNG. So she's inspired a fashion line named Greenpeace in the 2023 PNG Fashion and Design Runway. So really great to have you here, Esther. So Nikita Irvin, I think some of you may already know her here in Fiji. She's a social entrepreneur engaged in continuous learning with creative solutions, and she's the founder of Tasty Island Treats that I think some of you may know here, that celebrates and promotes Fijian grown fruits through handcrafted natural ice pops. And I myself have tasted some, and they're really great. And the Tasty Kitchen Collective as well. And I understand you've also started an arts center as well in your spare time. So really great to have you here, Nikita. Next, Shauna Lee. So Shauna Lee is a Samoan tech entrepreneur based in Fiji and the co-founder of Traceable Solutions, which is a data company specializing in digitalization and traceability in agriculture and fisheries. And she has a fisheries background, but working also in a wide range of areas, including gender and social inclusion, and using digital skills to train and capacity build women's economic empowerment. So welcome. And last but not least, Ruth, who's well known in GGI as a consultant for across the board, especially in SMEs, and a member of Kindling Kiribati, small business development in Kiribati. I said it right, Kiribati, sorry. She's also an Island Innovation Ambassador and an Obama Asia Pacific leader and a recipient of the Kiribati Order of Merit. So in recent years, I think a few of us will have seen her in different consulting positions and really empowering adaptation and mitigation efforts in climate change, be it through sanitation, healthcare, education, and business. So really an impressive lineup here. So I want to hear a little bit about your story, just a few minutes each, and then we'll have some more questions after. Over to you, Esther.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Esther Sione Daniels, and I'm a jewelry artisan and fashion designer. And my inspiration for being in this green business is, in 2018, I was walking through a local market in Papua New Guinea and in a place called Kaveng. It's an island. And walking through the local market, I was approached by two local artisans who came to sell their necklaces. And these handcrafted necklaces, which they locally hand make. And if I can ask Shannon to stand up. This is the shell necklace, which our local artisans craft from shells, and they use local hand tools. So I bought the strands because I felt that I had to help them. They wanted something to use as bus fare back to their villages. So I bought the shells, I went back home, and I came up with the idea of crafting jewelries or incorporating those shells into my contemporary jewelries in order to make profit to go back to them and to buy again in order to resell. So that's how I started my handicraft business. And because I live near the sea, my husband and I always go to the sea and collect whatever plastics we see, and we want to keep our beaches and the sea clean. And because of that, you know, I want to have shells or something from the sea incorporated into my contemporary pieces. And yes, coming from a background which we always extracted precious minerals in the mine, you know, we are destroying biodiversity, and I wanted to use something that we could just easily pick up from the environment, and it's sustainable and it doesn't destroy the environment. So that's how, that's what inspired my passion to be in green business. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thank you. So yeah, Nikita, we'd love to hear also what inspired you.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Nikita Irvin. I am born and raised in Suva. Before I started my entrepreneurial journey, I was actually working for GIZ in the development sector. And before that, I was working in environmental law. My experience in the development sector kind of left me with a really bad impression in terms of sort of working within a system that's sort of entrenched in these power struggles. I just thought it was sort of a neo-colonial structure, and that it was perpetuating sort of this idea of creating enabling spaces, but the systems itself is deeply flawed. So I decided to leave. About 6 months before I left GIZ, I started making ice cream on the side because I thought, hey, I'm gonna leave, my 9 to 5. I'm just gonna start a business and my life will get relatively easier. Unfortunately, that was not the case. I started sort of playing around and testing making dairy ice cream, but what I found was that the local supply of fresh cream was inconsistent. So then I decided my market edge would be using locally sourced ingredients, and that's when I started experimenting with coconuts and fruits, and Taste Island treats came into fruition. When I left my really good job with security and benefits, I was basically starting new and had no idea about running a business, although my family, I come from a family of entrepreneurs, and my grandparents were sort of legends in their own rights in creating enabling spaces for Indigenous business owners during a time of colonialism, or post-colonialism. So I think just my experience with my family and working for the business here, doing some things here and there, it sort of really showed me that being a business owner, it can be quite empowering, and you get to be your own boss. You don't have to take directions from a bureaucrat sitting in Europe, and you can do your own thing and give yourself your own direction. So when I left GIZ, I sort of invested about $300 in buying my equipment, buying my freezer and whatnot. At that time, $300 could get you far. Currently, probably not. And yeah, I started my business in my kitchen, basically took over my whole kitchen with freezers and just started making ice pops using coconuts, fresh coconut cream and fruits. I was working alone, and then I pulled my house nanny to start helping me, and eventually trained her, and now she's managing my kitchen, and now we have a commercial kitchen in Walube. It took me about 6 years to develop this kitchen. In order to grow my business, though, I wasn't able to access financing or anything like that. So I started my own nonprofit called Tasty Kitchen Collective to enable myself, but also to enable other like-minded entrepreneurs working in the food space. I didn't realize that sort of going into this nonprofit space would lead to a lot of other opportunities within development, focusing specifically on enabling the Fijian grown food space. And now that I'm here, it's been about 7 years since I started my journey, and I think now more than ever, it's definitely the time to be an entrepreneur in Fiji because of the support mechanisms that have popped up over the years. Whereas when I first started, there was nothing. Like, I was going to every organization and everybody that I knew that might have some advice for me. But now there's just a huge support network, which is great. Yeah, I think that's it. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Nikita. So Shona, what's your story?
Sorry, I've got a bit of a cough. Everyone in my family has a cough. But yeah, my name is Shona Katafono. I'm Samoan, married to a Ratuman. And it's an honor to be here and to be with these panelists and just to share a little bit about my entrepreneurship journey. Before I started Traceable Solutions with my husband, I was a fisheries officer. So my background is in fisheries. I studied marine science at USP. Went back home, and then I was with the Ministry of Fisheries in Samoa, where I was a fisheries officer. And it was a training that took me to Solomon Islands, where I met my husband. And so, you know, as the relationship developed, we're thinking about our family, where's the best place to sort of settle down. And we kind of decided, okay, Fiji is going to be it because it's central, easy to get around, And so we moved to Fiji, and then I was left without a job. But we were also expecting. So I went back to studies, did my postgrad, and then the whole time I was thinking it's going to be very hard for me to find a job here in Fiji unless it's with a regional organization. Yeah. And so after many sort of late night conversations, we kind of, because of our experiences and our knowledge in the fishing industry, my husband Ken comes from a strong ICT background, and he was working for the regional fisheries organization. And so knowing all the different challenges, we knew we wanted to still work within that space in some way to our countries. Yeah. And so because fisheries was sort of like our domain, we thought, okay, what are the problems in fisheries, and how can we apply the skills that we have in terms of compliance, coming from sort of a regulatory background, government, and then we sort of traceability in terms of seafood, specifically looking at tuna. So track and tracing from the origin right through to the supply chain. And that's how we, after many consultations with our network in fisheries across the region, leveraging our network and also our connections, we developed a product, and then that's just how we started. So that's how our journey started for Traceable Solutions. So if you see Traceable Solutions, it's traceable with an S. C as in representing, the background that we came from. Some people thought it was a typo, but no, it's not. Yeah, and so we have evolved over the years. It's been 6 years since we started Traceable in 2017. We have evolved and have applied the technology in other resource-based sectors, so agriculture, forestry, and our focus really right now is to provide impactful advice, because we do consulting advice, but also technology and training, looking at sustainability of the solutions that we develop for the organizations that we work with. Yeah, and so we've been very fortunate to access a lot of capacity building sort of training and opportunities when we started. But like Nikita, I think we started with only, 5,000. That was it to our name. And sort of bootstrapped our whole way right through and haven't taken out any loans, which is something we are very happy with, but can be very, stressful, being able to, function without relying on loans and things like that because of, again, the challenges in, yeah. So that's a little bit about me and my entrepreneurship journey, and over to Ruth.
Thank you. Yes, Ruth.
Okay, thank you, Natalie. Well, Kamnaderini Nauri, my name is Ruth Cross, and I'm from the beautiful islands of Kiribati. So my story, my background, I'm actually part Kiribati, part Tuvaluan, and part Australian. And I grew up in Kiribati, and I spent about 20 years living in Australia before returning back to Kiribati as my parents were starting to get a bit old, and I didn't like the idea of them, being in Kiribati, where they decided that life was much better, and I agree. Right? So in 2019, I moved back to Kiribati, and I moved back to Kiribati with my partner. So as Natalie mentioned, we all have a story, right? And when I saw this question, what inspired me or what motivates me to work in the green innovation space and women's economic empowerment? And I thought, am I going to be really honest about my story, or am I going to give I guess the professional version? And I decided, well, I'm going to be honest. Okay. So in 2021, I was very unhappy in my relationship. Is everybody comfortable? So at the time, my partner had been unfaithful and things became very volatile. And one day I decided, okay, I think enough is enough. So I went home and I saw my mother and I said, Mom, I'm going to leave. And she says, really? What are you going to do? At the time, I didn't have a job. I had a small baby. He was 1.5. And she said, are we going to be okay? Now, I said to her, Mom, it's okay. I can get a job or I can start a business. Right. And so she said, okay, that's fine. And so I was very fortunate because of my background. I had over 20 years of, operations and business and operations experience. So I had the confidence to make that decision and make that choice. And sure enough, I was very fortunate. Triple GI was one of the opportunities that I was able to participate in, which took me into business incubation and entrepreneurship. But aside from the work that I was doing with Triple GI, I was also the board member or a board member of a new organization that we had in Kiribati, which is Kindling Kiribati Small Business Development. Okay. Now so what inspires me to do this work in this sector is as Katarina mentioned in her speech, that I also believe that entrepreneurship is one of the keys that's going to unlock prosperity for people and private sector, which will lift Kiribati out of poverty. But where it relates to women is, I thought, for women who are in vulnerable situations that didn't have the kind of confidence that I had at the time to make a big decision, but know that I was going to be okay, is that I also know that a lot of women don't make that decision because they are worried about whether they're going to be able to provide for themselves, their children, and how they're going to manage. So they make compromises and stay in difficult and unhappy situations because of that fear. And I thought, well, this is the way for women. When we talk about the issues with domestic violence and the challenges that women have, a lot of these challenges are centered around the restrictions that they have and what choices they have. And so Kindling Kiribati Small Business Development, what we do is we teach basic business skills to women, and then we provide financial services through microloans so they can actually start those small businesses. And I'm also grateful for the opportunity with Triple GI to take businesses at a different level, that are ready to take that next step as entrepreneurs and go through that business incubation program. And so all of this, again, ties back to, the issues in Kiribati specifically. We have a very underinvested economy. We have high unemployment rates and low wages. So my belief is that, well, we can't all work for the government. We can't all get degrees and go on that academic journey. And we can't all work for the big businesses and private sector, but we can all start a small business. And so therefore it seems to me, and I'm sure to everyone here in this room, that entrepreneurship is a way forward for many people, even people in vulnerable situations, right? If you're able to also provide entry points at that level. So that's my story. And also that's what inspires me also is women entrepreneurs. What we also know about women entrepreneurs and what we've heard from our female entrepreneurs here is that sustainability is at the heart of how women operate, right? They're always thinking about well-being, creating an environment in which children, families, and people can thrive. And although we're all motivated to make money and to make income, you'll find, or I find, that women's values and what drives them and what inspires and motivates them are more family oriented values about how, you know, how those how not only their families can thrive, but also how these businesses can be sustainable and have less damage on the environment, right? And so that's what, you know, that's what well, I guess those are the things that inspire and motivate me. Thanks, Natalie.
Thanks, Esther. So actually, if you could just hold on to that, I kind of have a follow-up question. Now that you're a few years or many years into your business, and you have hindsight, which is a luxury, is there anything that you would like to have known at the start when you made that initial decision, or at your initial stages?
In looking back on the journey and, you know, in everything, what I was very fortunate about, especially when I moved into the business incubation stage, was with Triple GI. And one of the great things about this program is how well organized and how much work has gone into preparing the process. And in all things, I've always I've got this thing. I'm sure you've all heard about the 5 Ps, right? The 5 Ps are across, you know, where you've got the original principles are proper planning prevents poor performance, right? But then there are other variations in sustainability, in marketing, in business, and all of those. And I found that existed in the structure of this program but looking back on it, I realized that what I didn't know then and what I didn't do then that I know is so much more important now was that there's actually a couple more P's that I've thrown into the mix, right? And that is peers and partnerships, right? Because no matter what you're doing, whether you're in business, leadership, or any kind of work you're doing, if you don't have peers to work with at, you know, that are operating at the same level, then you don't have, you know, perhaps the fellowship that you need. And even in business, it can become a bit of a lonely journey, or no matter what you're doing, you can still end up feeling isolated if you don't have, you know, peers to, you know, to kind of inspire and work with and kind of talk about what you're going through and how you can learn from each other. And the other one is the partnerships, right? When I first started with these programs, you just get going, right? You jump into your canoe and you start paddling away and you start doing the best you can. But what I didn't do as well in the beginning was engage those partnerships, because you're not the only one trying to do what you're doing, right? But you might be at the head of what you're trying to do. So one of the things that's changed now that I'm very grateful for is that I'm much better at partnerships, right? And gratefully, actually, in our PGen program in Kiribati, you know, one of our partners is also the Kiribati Institute of Technology, and they're actually here with us. And it's strengthening the program. After a couple of years down the line, you need that. You need something that's going to reinvigorate the work that you're doing. And we can also see that here in this event. If it was just Triple GI or just ILO, then it's still fantastic. But then when you get those partnerships together, it really strengthens the work that you're doing. So that's the thing that I've learned to do differently, and that is really benefiting the work that we're doing and accelerating the efforts through that better together approach.
Thanks, Ruth. So actually, I have the same question for Esther. And we had a little discussion before, and it sounds like that start was difficult. And maybe you'd like to share also what, now that you have this hindsight, what was challenging for you and what would you do differently?
Before I tapped into the green business or into entrepreneurship, I wished I had known the processes of government regulations. You know, in our country, it's registering with Investment Promotion Authority in order to get a business certificate. And I didn't have that. I started informally. I went on to creating jewelries and just selling on Facebook platforms without even registering with Investment Promotion Authority or IRC for tax. So I failed in that area. That was something I saw that I now see that I should have changed before or done before I tapped into entrepreneurship. But my challenges was not being able to get a loan to grow my business because I didn't have those documents. And I'm so thankful for the Triple GI program. Because of that, I was being pushed to get my those documents to register my business name. And, you know, I just came out from the mining industry where everything was done by the company. So this was my business now. So I had to get all my paperwork done. And then I applied for the first grant, and that was what I did. It was required for me to get a bank account, which I was pushed to get the documents, and I'm very grateful for the Triple GI program, because the loans which I applied for back in my country, I was rejected. I couldn't get any loans because I didn't have those documents. But yeah, I wish I had known, or I wish I had done that before, and I tapped into the business. But I'm thankful now that I have the documents.
Thanks, Esther. Yeah, administration is tricky, and I'm sure that there are many papers needed to start off. So my next question goes to Nikita and Shauna. Maybe Nikita, what do you think is needed to support women in growing the green innovation space in the region and unlocking opportunities for their communities?
I think there are so many barriers for women trying to start up a business in Fiji, and I think the Greater Pacific. Just from my own personal experience, I think if, at the beginning of my journey, I had access to more training and mentorship, that would have been extremely valuable, and also access to financing. I think in terms of, those are sort of the technical things, gaps that need to be filled in order to sort of raise the capacity of entrepreneurs or budding entrepreneurs. And then there's sort of the greater social ecosystem, which is for women. One of the barriers is just sort of being a woman. That comes with a lot of limitations, especially within certain, just being a woman comes with lots of limitations, and women that often are held back by their partners or their family, because there's the expectation that they'll stay home and be domestic and raise the children, and that that's basically their role. I think once women start challenging that, you see all of these sort of ugly things that come out. Just speaking from experience, back in 2017, I had a staff member that was a victim of domestic violence. Basically, what happened was she had started working for me, and she was becoming financially independent. She was expecting a baby, and her partner at home was unemployed because of sort of the frustrations of being in that sort of stuck in that sort of social situation. I think all that pressure from him resonated onto her, and that ended up, turning into a really ugly, violent situation. So much so that he would be calling our workplace, checking in on her, make sure she was there. And like, we saw all the signs, and my staff and I were constantly asking, I'm just gonna call her S, if she was okay, if she needed help. And of course she said she was fine. But then, her coming to work ended up with her, starting to get punched up because she was coming to work. And then eventually it ended up with him trying to hold her back at home, by locking her in a hotel room and beating her so she could not come to work. And eventually that turned into his frustrations of being unemployed and her financial independence, of her literally getting beaten to death. And so this is literally just a symptom of the larger problems that women have to face when trying to enable themselves, when trying to find that financial independence. I think the larger culture, what we'll find is that pushback of women to stay in their place. So I think that is the biggest challenge. And unless there's sort of, and we see a lot of broader interventions done by Fiji women's rights movement and all these other feminist organizations, but the push for women's equality has to come from business owners, has to come from organizations to say that, you know, how do you protect women in these situations? How do you whistleblow? Do there situations where it's like, when this thing was happening at my workplace, I didn't know what to do. I honestly was like just so shocked and also like terrified. Like I didn't want to overstep, and then the pushback from him would be something even uglier. And so, you know, I think having sort of tools to navigate these kinds of social forces that are changing would be really great.
Thank you. And what a story. But I think it's the reality, and thank you for bringing it out here. I think in certain cases, coming out from poverty and from areas where they may be trapped also has, we need role models, and you are an example of role models. And I think the more people see successful, I don't like the word successful, but just women like you entrepreneuring, and I think this will also help to just normalize where things can be. But thank you for sharing. So what do you think after this, what do you think we could do for our communities also? And I think you've really touched a great point. I'm just digesting myself. Thank you.
Yeah, I think Nikita touched on some really important issues, points, and I couldn't agree more with what she had shared. But talking from my own experience, I guess what women need, the kind of support that they need to help them be, you know, within this green innovative space. For me, I was fortunate because I was I had access to learning opportunities at a regional and a global sort of level, and then being able to bring that back and sort of localize it. So I think one of the things that I would probably put some stress on is access to training opportunities, exposure for women. You know, there I just came back from a E-Trade for Women masterclass that was by UNCTAD. This is held in Malaysia, and it was a really, I came back so motivated, you know, just had so like the passion from the women, and just being around space where women are able to be vulnerable, are able to share their stories and not be like, you know, hold back, because providing more opportunities like that for women, so that they go out and they're able to learn and get ideas from other women that are doing so many good things out there in Asia, and they're well ahead of, you know, the Pacific region in terms of the different innovative businesses that are there. But then also for, say, organizations or programs that provide these type of opportunities for women to go out, when the women come back, like, you know, how can they sort of help them to contextualize the things that they've learned and apply it within their own sort of environment. And I think a lot of programs now are doing a good job in terms of, and I've heard a lot about the Triple GI one, of sort of bringing those incubator programs and things down to the national levels so that it's relevant within each entrepreneur's context. So yeah, definitely like access to training opportunities, exposure. And the reason why I wanted to share that, because when I go back to Samoa, I go back to the village. Um, I talk about ideas. Like, I see so many business ideas, like, just from what's happening there. But why is nobody doing it? It's because it never crossed their mind, because they haven't had that exposure to, yeah. So I think exposure is good. And then just providing that sort of enabling environment. And then goes back to all the policies and regulations. I recently did a sort of a review of the business licensing process in Samoa as consulting, and the barriers there for women, especially like in the informal sector, to sort of formalize their businesses. It's just huge. How can we expect them to be in these innovative spaces if they can't even sort of register their businesses, can't even get a bank account? So all those things, I think working together as a collective, these organizations, making noise. I just shared with my husband, I had a chat, I was like, it's another, sort of panel talking about the same thing we've been talking about like how many years, and in different sort of places, but not really seeing anything. But I think that's the kind of thing we need. We need to keep making noise, keep creating awareness about the issues so that people can work together. Yeah, and really leveraging on the partnerships, the networks, as Ruth has shared as well. I think that's what has really taken our business forward over these years, is because of the networks, the connections that we make across the region. So a lot of our work has been through referrals, through we never actively sort of advertise, yeah. And so that's the importance of like keeping your networks, and helping to maintain good, healthy relationships. Yeah.
Thanks. So I'm hearing networks, support needed at community level for some quite serious issues, also for administrative issues. And I believe, Ruth, you wanted to maybe add also from your perspective.
Yeah, sure. I mean, of course, I'm, very, touched, I'm sure we all are, by, some of the stories shared, and especially by the one that Nikita shared. And it is an unfortunate thing that our conversations, when we talk about economic empowerment, entrepreneurship, and the progress that women are making, that conversation is still interlinked with the challenges that women face, because we're not quite out of the woods yet, right? And as Nikita and Shauna mentioned, the women pressing forward and moving forward in business and leadership is still part of that change and that movement that's needed. And it's as complex an issue as it is, we know that supporting women leaders and women entrepreneurs is, in my opinion, the best way to focus on the fight against the challenges that women face. Because in the Pacific region, they're still getting used to seeing women in business. They're still getting used to seeing women leaders. And all of the efforts and collaborations and partnerships that we're having are continuing to just strengthen and enhance the work that's being done. And the thing that I noticed, that when we do have those partnerships come in, and I use Kinley and Kiribati as an example as well. We started as an organization inspired by the Grameen Project, which is a different organization. And along the way, the work has been supported by many partners, business, other partners like embassies. And then more recently, YGAP and SPC coming in, and all these organizations have similar and different approaches to targeting the same issues that affect women in different ways. And, we're very grateful for that. But again, I also, I guess, continue to offer that encouragement to women in business and women entrepreneurs, because you are leading the way, because people, men, communities are watching. And when they start to have positive experiences out of seeing what women are achieving and how we don't leave our families behind, we don't leave our husbands or partners behind. It's an all-inclusive journey, because that's how women operate. It's all things considered. It's people, family, children, environment. And the thing that we noticed in the journey of Kinley and Kiribati of us is in the beginning, husbands were accompanying the women to classes, and they wanted to see what they were doing and why, and what is this new organization, and how is it affecting women, and what are these women still going to be mindful of their responsibilities in the home and their children. And they were very suspicious and guarded. We even had graduations, even though we were targeting these as women events, you still sort of had husbands sitting in the background just watching very warily and suspicious about what this whole organization was about. But then they started to see the successes and how happy the women were and how happy they became when they were supporting one another. We'd have graduation ceremonies when the women would complete, and they'd all get dressed up in the same, we've got Kalavata style, right? We all did they'd all do matchy graduation outfits. You know, they'd have a big feast and they'd celebrate the fact that they'd received these certificates at the end of their business training. And they'd be so excited about these little businesses they were starting, making things, sewing things, cooking things. And little by little, people, men, communities started to see what a positive impact the program was having. And now we don't have any issues whatsoever. We're oversubscribed. We can't keep up with the demand for classes. And we're seeing how women are enjoying this, and how men are now, and then husbands and community leaders are now pushing women, saying, when can you come and teach this program in our villages? So it is an upward battle at first, but we're so grateful for those, women who are pioneering these changes and these movements, and the courage that they have to overcome what I'm sure are significant personal challenges at home to kind of be part of that change. And, and so grateful to see how that's happening, and also represented here in our panel, and all the female entrepreneurs that we also have in this program. So that's all I wanted to add. Thank you.
Thanks, Ruth. So I think I've asked all the questions, and we were also limited by time, but there have been some amazing stories, and I do encourage you to speak. You've got another 2 days. I unfortunately have to run off to another event, but you'll be able to get to know these ladies more and share more stories, but to move forward and together. And I also want to acknowledge that the men also are part of this. I have a very supportive husband as well. I'm bringing up 2 boys. I think I want to be, this is not a woman-only world, and but we definitely want to be parts of change, and I think we can, and these are fantastic examples. So thank you very much. Esther, over to you.
Well, thank you so much to the panel on stage. Can we give them a round of applause, please? Thank you so much. So I think we've got we have run over time to have some question and answers, but that's okay, because in the part 2 we're going to have some interactive discussions, and our panelists will also be roaming around. So hopefully we can also get some discussion happening with them as well. So excellent. Thank you so much. I really appreciate, a lot of really key issues were just brought up. And as I think, Shauna said, yes, there's been plenty of panels, but we need to keep making the noise. So we appreciate your help to amplify and to, yes, a lot of the times these are the same issues that are brought up, but do our part to push the agenda for women's equality, women's empowerment, and particularly as we're talking about today in the space of addressing climate change, environmental issues, and green innovation. So great. So we're going to be moving into the second part of the session shortly. I know our moderator, Natalie, has to run off to another event, so thank you very much. But maybe I'll ask if the panelists, you just stick around just for a little bit while I explain the next part, and we'll be getting your help as well. Thank you. Okay, so if we can bring up the slides again, please. We have a little mini quiz to get your brains working before we get into the interactive part of the discussion. Oh, thank you. Okay, so while that comes up, that's okay. I can ask the questions too. It's just a couple of questions, and you'll have we have a couple of little small freebies for whoever answers correctly first. So the first question I have, thank you for that. Next slide, please. Back to number one. Studies show that women are more likely than their male counterparts to start a business with a social and or environmental purpose. True or false? True. Okay. All right. Well, we have, I think I saw a hand right at the back in that corner at first, but you are correct. And actually it was mentioned, I think earlier as well. So very good.
Yes,
True. I'm glad you guys are paying attention.
True.
Yeah, true.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Okay, great. So we actually have a very small looking prize, a lovely GGI branded USB, 16 gigs, preloaded with some useful guides for entrepreneurship. So hopefully they will be useful.
Someone Greenpeace.
Okay, a couple more questions. On the second one, if we can move to the next slide, please. Globally, what percentage do you guys think of early stage, so just entrepreneurs starting out, what percentage of early stage entrepreneurs are women? Anyone? 20%, 40%, 50 or 60%? Hang on. Hands up for I don't know where to, where to go. Who? Hands up if you want to try. Okay, the back lady at the back with a hand up. What do you think?
60%.
60%? No, actually it's not 60%. It's lower than that, but thank you for trying. Who else? Okay, lady in the yellow in the front. Yeah, second row. What do you think it is?
40.
Well done. It is 40%. Yay. Great. So 2 out of 5. So we're not quite at equality yet, but not bad. So which is great. However, from what I understand, this is according to the GEM report, which is the Global Entrepreneurship Monitor. There was a recent report globally, 2 out of 5 of the early stage businesses currently globally are women. But as they get larger, typically there are more men who are leading businesses that are larger. So we definitely have work to do. Okay, next question. Thank you. How much do you guys think would closing the global gender gap in the labor market participation by 25% add to global GDP? There's some very big numbers on the screen there. Do you guys think it's 2.5 billion US, 5.3 billion? 2.5 trillion or 5.3 trillion? Who wants to give a guess? Or anyone know the answer? Oh, so lady at the back.
2.5 trillion.
Said sorry, 2.5 trillion. No, not nice. Thanks for the guess, but not quite. Okay, Cynthia at the back.
B, 5.3 billion.
You said 5.3 billion.
Yes, B.
Sorry, no, you are incorrect. Lady in red in the front here.
A.
No, sorry, it's not. Okay, there's one more guys. Okay, at the back. Gentleman behind, is that Watson? Yeah, Watson.
D.
Yeah. All right, isn't that phenomenal? 5.3 trillion US dollars if we only close the gap. So that basically this is a lot of words, but basically if we were to make men and women more equal in the labor force by just 25%, that would add 5.3 trillion to the global economy. So, amazing work that women can put in if supported, right? Okay, so I hope you guys are now, your brains are working. We're going to move now to group discussions. So if we can move to the next, thank you, awesome. So we've got 4 topics that we kind of picked earlier on the screen. You can see these are often common issues, and I think some of them certainly were alluded to, if not all, actually. I think they all were alluded to by the panel today. Access to finance, access to training and opportunities, the policy and regulatory environment, and socio-cultural issues. So what we're actually going to do, I mean, I had a bit of, bit of a spiel on each one, but I don't think we need to do that because I think we've already been sort of talked about. We know that these are often challenges and issues that both men and women entrepreneurs do face, but perhaps women face a bit more, have more barriers in these particular areas. So what we're going to do is you'll be doing some group discussion at your tables. And within what you'll be doing is there's some butcher's paper on the tables, and that you'll have been pre-assigned to one of the topics, but just to start with. So you'll be getting to work on more than one topic. But what we'll do is, for example, if the butcher paper on your table says access to finance, then you are going to start with discussing that topic. You have 2 pieces of paper, 2 pieces of butcher paper or flip charts, which is to discuss the key issues or challenges. And then the second one is any recommendations, right? So the key issues or challenges, if you can sort of try to, for both of them, as much as possible, try to give examples. I mean, it was really, really powerful hearing the examples from the ladies on the stage. And if you can actually, articulate or write down or share with those on your table, those examples of what does this issue mean, and jot those down on the flip charts. And likewise, if you can kind of think about, okay, so what are the recommendations you would give? Could be to policymakers, it could be to NGOs or development partners, or to entrepreneurs. There could be different types of recommendations you want to give. And if you have examples of those as well, where it's worked or where it hasn't worked, that would be great. So you'll be given 10 minutes to work on your first topic. And please do decide who's going to be writing on your table. And yeah, we'll give you 10 minutes. And then I'll tell you what to do after that. We will have our panelists. They've each been pre-assigned to sort of champion one topic, who will be helping us roam around. And also a few of us will be roaming around if you've got any questions. I think for those online, I think my colleague Miwa is already, putting some comments in the chat. There will be a discussion in the online. Thank you.
Hello? Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Ah, okay. Hi, Lilian. I saw your comments. Thank you for that. I'm not sure whether you were able to access the Jamboard link that I shared. Would you like to try?
Yeah, let me try now.
Yeah, let me actually copy and paste the link again so you can see it there. Hi, Marcella. Are you able to talk? Marcella, are you? Hi, yes, if you can just click the Jamboard link that I just shared on the chat, and then we will start the discussion there. Let me know if you can access the Jamboard. Okay, I think I see one person has joined. Is it Lillian or Marcella?
I've joined. I'm just trying to add my comments now.
Oh, yes, please. So you can just, double click, I think, the sticky note, write down your answer, and then you can also kind of suggest any recommendation that is corresponding to the issues that you identify on each topic. And all these inputs that you made will be kind of captured in our event summary report. So let's now, we are on the page for access to finance. So let's actually include our inputs there. Okay, the first topic is access to finance. Second one, if you just move the arrow, there's access to training opportunities. Third one is policy and regulations. And the fourth one is a socio-cultural kind of barriers that women facing. Oh, Marcella, you are on your phone, right? I think this works better on if you're using the laptop, but Marcella, if you can kind of let me know, maybe I can just put it on behalf of you. So what are the challenges that you think women are facing in terms of access to finance, access to training opportunities, in terms of policy regulation, social cultural barriers? If you can just put it on the chat, then I will put your inputs, and then those your inputs will be captured in the summary notes. I can see that you're putting your comments. Yeah, you're doing a great job. If you can move around this board, and then there's different topics that you can provide your input. I think there's 2 comments that I see on the theme access to training opportunities. Hi, Kitty. Welcome back. This is Miwa from Triple GI. We are now doing the group discussion. So I'm gonna just share this Jamboard link again on the chat. So if you can just click this Jamboard link, and then we'll take you to the board where you can provide your inputs on different topics. One on the left panel is about, you can identify some issues and challenges. And on the right side, you can provide some recommendations on each topic.
Test, test, test. Hello?
Yes, can hear you.
Hello? Test. Okay. Okay. All right, guys, if you can write down your comments. You got like another minute to write down the comments that you've been discussing on the paper. Okay, everyone, can I get your attention for a minute? So I can hear some good discussions happening, lots of great stuff being written down, which is awesome. What we're going to do now is actually move tables. So you'll actually get an opportunity to work on a different topic now. So what's going to happen is each of you, each table that's currently there, you're going to choose one person to stay behind on that table to explain to the new group who's going to come what you guys have written down. So it could be your scribe, perhaps, if your scribe knows what they mean. But you can choose one person to stay behind. And everybody else is going to move to the next topic. So the topics are on the screen. So if you were number 1, access to finance, you're now going to get up and move to a table which has got number 2, access to training and opportunities. Okay. If you are already on, let's say you're number 4, social cultural issues, you're going to get up and you're going to a table which is 1, access to finance. Does that make sense? And then what you're going to do at the next table is review what's already been there, because some people have already started, and you're going to add to that or challenge it or add details and that. So can we get everyone to stand up? Find where is your next number. So we'll find, if you're access to finance, you're going to be finding, you're going to be moving to training. If you're in training, you're going to be moving to policy and regulatory environments. If you're in policy and regulatory environments, can you move to social cultural issues? And if you're at social cultural issues, you're going to move to access to finance. Okay. But leave one person behind at your table to discuss with the next group. Okay. Let's go, everyone.
Hello. Hi, Minnie. Welcome to this group discussion online. So I'm going to share this Jamboard link so that you can go in and then provide your inputs regarding the barriers and also of women entrepreneurship that you have faced based on your experience, and also solutions and recommendations on how to address them. Please feel free to go into the Jamboard and then write down your inputs. Hello, Kamara. Welcome to the panel discussion. And we're doing this group discussion at the moment, discussing about these challenges and also solutions regarding this women entrepreneurship. I'm just gonna share this Jamboard link, so you can just go in and then provide your inputs. You can either provide inputs in Jamboard directly, or you can also post your thoughts on the chat and I will just put it in the Jamboard. Thank you.
Okay. I see a lot of filled charts and also lots of chatting, which is awesome. Please jot down the last points you guys were discussing in your second topic. And I think there's been some cross collaboration of where people are. So now I'm just going to say, we're going to do one more time. Basically, find a topic you haven't covered yet. Okay? So if you've already done access to finance and social cultural issues, then choose training or policy, and likewise. Okay? So just find a different topic, and please, the same original scribe still stay at the table. Okay, so write down your last points and let's get moving in the next 1 minute, please. Alrighty. Okay, let's move for the second time. So you find our third topic now, okay? So just find a table with a topic you have not yet covered in your same group and leave one person behind to share the information with the new group.
Okay, everyone, I think this is the final round. So yeah, please feel free to share your thoughts in the chat or in the Jamboard. Thank you. Our Jamboard discussion is really live, especially on the first topic, access to finance. Thanks everyone for your input. I think we'll be able to share your findings. I mean, in the covered the report that will be shared after the event. On the Jamboard link, there's on top of your screen, there's arrow that says 1/4, 2/4. So you can move to the next frame by clicking the arrow and then go to the next topic. If you want to put your inputs, just double click any sticky notes and then write your inputs there and then click save.
Okay, guys, we will shortly be wrapping up this group discussion. So whatever you haven't yet written down, please do so now. You got 1 minute to write down your final points and summaries from your discussions, please. Okay. Can I have your attention, please? So I can see a lot of great discussions and hopefully some new connections happening, which is awesome. And we are almost at the end of the session. So just would like to get your attention as we do a summary and closing. And after that, there will be lunch and you can continue all these great discussions, right? So maybe I'd like to ask our panelists, our 4 panelists to come forward. And they will be sharing with us a brief summary of what they've been hearing on these topics. So if we can ask you guys all to take a seat, maybe it's where you originally started, maybe it's another seat, that's totally fine to me. But yeah, let's quickly wrap up and then we can let you guys head to lunch. All right, come on, guys. Let's some people at the back taking photos, which is great. But let's continue that later. And can we please have our 4 panelists to come to the stage, please? Oh, just briefly, they can just, or is it the mic? Yeah, then they can just share that. Okay, I can see Ruth is here. Great, thanks, Ruth. Can we get, where's Nikita and Shauna? Oh, there's Shauna, thank you. And Nikita, and I think Shannon is coming on behalf of Esther. So maybe we can get you guys to come forward. Awesome, thank you, ladies. I don't know her name either. Okay, awesome, all right. Okay, so I think we've Okay, awesome. So let's start with topic 1. So we'll have a very brief summary for access to finance to start with. I think that was Ruth is the champion for that one.
Naya, kami ni Maori again. Bula, it's Ruth. So I'll give you a summary of some of the things that I've seen with regards to access to finance. I went around and viewed the tables and had some discussions, and I was very pleased to see actually some particularly robust discussions on this side of the room. With regards to access to finance, one of the things that we recognize for startups and SMEs is, of course, the challenge of access to finance, right? We understand that the requirements or entry points for this are very rigorous and demanding. There's collateral required, capital required, evidence of how well businesses are doing and at what point they are in. And for startups, this is a particularly intimidating and daunting process as well. There's a lot of paperwork that are required by banks and lending institutions. So aside from the entry points that we know that various organizations offer, including, I guess, Triple GI and in terms of its support for startup entrepreneurs, is that we've seen the request and the ask is that, I guess, government and various organizations become more involved to provide opportunities to support entrepreneurs and startups to understand that process a bit better, to actually go and engage with communities and early stage entrepreneurs to actually take them through the process and help them understand all those requirements. We hear stories of people who and business owners or hopeful people who find it very discouraging because, they go to the bank only to find that they haven't got all the paperwork, ID, signatures, and various needs that they're required, and there's a lot of back and forth. So the ask for government, agencies, and other organizations to create programs where they can actually support entrepreneurs to go through that process and, of course, find it less daunting, because we know that without capital, there is, the opportunities are very limited for entrepreneurs to establish or even scale up their business enterprises. So it was really great to see. I wonder if we're actually going to be taking these, we are going to have these sheets, right? Because I actually saw some really fantastic recommendations, and a definite shout out to Cynthia's table. I think they ran out of paper with all the problems identified. And the recommendations as well. I like to say that identifying problems without identifying solutions is just complaining, right? So it was really good to see that there are actually a lot of really helpful recommendations that have been suggested by everyone in this room. So that's it for finance. Congratulations, everybody.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ruth, and thanks for everyone contributing to that topic. Great. So I think our next topic is training and opportunities. And I believe Esther has designated Shannon, our colleague Shannon from MStrat and PNG, to share something on that. Thank you.
Hey, everyone. All right, so I think there was another group that was doing this as well, right? Training opportunities, issues, and recommendations. So I will try my best to summarize both groups, but I have my group's paper here. So as you can see, we've got 4 sticky pads in yellow. Those are the issues that we've instantly identified that is apparent across all the different Pacific Island countries. We've got our culture, we've got society, financial issues, and educational issues as well. So under culture, what do we mean by that? That is basically our customs and traditions. It's all good things when we have strong family ties, but also it is a disadvantage. Why? Because right across all of our different countries, we know that males are sort of valued a bit higher than females. If I go to an elder and I'm sitting there, and my brother is also there, I don't go straight up to him and say that, okay, I want to attend this training. No, I'll have to sit and I'll have to wait for my brother to say that he wants to attend this training. And then they will say, okay, Shannon, so your brother is attending the training. Why are you going? That's an issue. All right. So we also have societal issues. That is, it's covering mainly under this, we're talking about domestic issues. Mothers having responsibilities to mother, all the different house chores all throughout the day, so many kids to look after, and the society's expectation. You cannot dress a certain way. You cannot be there at this time. Okay? Those are issues. We have financial here as well. Why do we say financial issue is contributing to females not having enough access to trainings and opportunities? We're saying this because females have an inadequate say in family or financial matters. If there is a training or if there is a scholarship that's happening somewhere, she will most definitely not just get up and go and apply. Okay? She will need to sit down with her husband, or she needs to sit down with the father and then discuss matters. It's a long process, and I'm sure you understand where I'm coming from. Okay? We have educational issues as well. There's not enough training opportunities. And when I say education issues, I don't mean just going to formal education. We're talking about informal trainings. Trainings that include livelihood things. Okay? And then there's also time constraints. Not everyone can attend anything that is provided. So of the limited opportunities that we have for education, limited time also is there for females. Okay? So what do we recommend now? We are going for creating more dialogues to encourage an equal playing field. Why? Because there is a dire need for females and males to be viewed as equals. Okay? These dialogues need to be raised to the national level so that they make it into policies. Because if we do not do that, we're going nowhere. We're just going around in circles. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Shannon and Esther and everyone contributing to that topic. I think that was really great. And it shows the interconnectedness of all these issues, right? And I mean, these are 4 topics we've chosen as well, and there's plenty more out there. Excellent. Okay, so the third topic is policy and regulation. And I think Shakira in the back has been nominated to speak on behalf, if you're okay with that. You can come up with, if you feel like it, with your flip chart. Thank you.
Yay. That would be amazing. Thank you. Hello, everybody. So we'll start with the policy issues. The ones that were identified by the roaming contributors. One was the lack of policy in terms of structures to encourage MSMEs in tourism. An example of this was the Handicraft Center, how Jackson Tapos are monopolizing the port, the tourism that come from the ports. The recommendations then would be to regulate involvement of larger companies to avoid monopolization. And another recommendation given was to have the budget from Ministry Tourism given to MSMEs and creatives, or to be more friendly towards MSMEs and creatives rather than corporations or larger businesses. The second, we had banks, but I think that would be covered by the finance sector. 3, with quotas should be met in terms of loans, scholarships, etc. So more opportunities targeting women to meet certain quotas. We should have quotas where 50% of this, this ministry should be women. Let's meet these quotas. Policies to implement those. 4 is there's investment lacking in research for social cultural issues specific to women to strengthen and inform policy. So the Ministry of Trade needs to do more research, link these, not just do that, but follow up and link to organizations that can help. So this is education awareness. 5 is access to business development services, specifically in rural communities as well. So that would be workshops to mobilize teams to educate, which I understand the ministry is doing. We've seen FRCS come through to places of business, of MSMEs. We've seen FDB start workshops, ANZ, so maybe if there's collaboration between the government and private sector, that would be amazing. So another one that came up was governments change, which happens a lot, here in the Pacific. The governments change, so policies change. A great example is the Fiji VAT change that happened recently from 9% to 15%. The recommendation would be education and awareness on policy change. There's a lot of misinformation where people were thinking that it went up by 15% as opposed by up by 6%. Just more education and awareness by the government to the public would be necessary. And then lobbying is mostly for larger business and corporations. It's an issue for MSMEs and women in MSMEs. We need to have associations to lobby for MSMEs and for friendly spaces, safe spaces for MSMEs to conduct business and to lobby for policy. And then another one, maternity leave / annual leave. We need more paid leave, basically, in Fiji. The policy should be more paid leave. We have a lot of things that happen. An issue came up, a point came up saying, people take sick leave all the time. We have 3 days sick leave, I think it is, 10 days annual leave. Is that enough leave to ensure the mental capacity and health, of women in general, especially if they're looking after children who are sick, if they're looking after, we have periods, we go through menstrual cycles and things like that. We need more leave, paid leave, to ensure that our health is, that we can perform better. And then the supply chain is interrupted. So, a budget should be allocated to logistics. I mean, this is not exactly policy, but it could be fixed with policy change. An example was the tanoas from Canberra. We see that the logistics trying to get something across, sometimes things go missing in commute, missing in transit. So ensuring that there is budget allocated and ministries allocated to see that the logistics, there's a follow through in the supply chain. Thank you.
Yeah, just to add on a couple more points from the other groups that also focused on policy recommendations. So the issue has been, or one of the recommendations actually, is to have more gender equity and disability inclusive policies for MSMEs. And the business startup process. Yeah, there are challenges around the whole registration, and the recommendation was to have like a one-stop shop for, there has been work done in terms of digitalization of the process, but still some aspects of it is done. So that was one of the big issues raised by some of the groups, and the recommendation was, was for digitalization of that whole, or having sort of a space for to act as a one-stop shop for registration.
Awesome. So thank you, Shauna, Shakira, and everyone who was working on topic 3. Okay, so we have the last, but certainly not least, we have topic 4. I can see Nikita. Not sure if you want to sum up or if you're asking someone to talk on behalf. This is a very so the social cultural issues, and if it's possible, it's because we're just running a bit short on time, if we can try to keep it brief. But I know it's a difficult topic and very many issues. Great, over to you.
Issues on here. I think they're basically the same. Okay. I feel short, so I'm going to go on the stage. Good afternoon, everybody.
I'd like to indicate my table as you enter from the door. Eliana is from Tonga. We have a gentleman from Vanuatu, 2 from the Solomon Islands, and 2 from Fiji. So a good mix of regional participants there. Our topic was actually socio-cultural issues. Okay, so I'm presenting for all that did socio-cultural issues. Apologies. All right, I'm going to present my table first, and then I'll go on to the ones that have not been touched from the other groups. So one of the points that we had was gender stereotypes. We also have a good gender mix in our table, so I don't think this is biased at all. We recognize that in the Pacific, and we have a good mix, we tend to have this gender stereotype where women are expected to be a certain type of, with set roles and responsibilities, and men as well in a set structure. That kind of limits women from advancing beyond those lines in terms of setting up businesses or just earning an income. We are expected to be just mothers. We belong in the kitchen and things like that. Another issue that was raised was land ownership. And this we all agreed from the different parts of the region that we hail from. It's very difficult for women to inherit land in our systems, existing systems. So that is basically a barrier when we do want to launch into businesses that require land ownership. Traditional roles and expectations, that is tied back to gender stereotype. Work-life balance. I've forgotten what this was, but let me try. All right, I think it ties right back to gender stereotypes where a mother, a wife, a working woman, an entrepreneur struggles to balance all of those. That's very difficult in our cultural setting. It's very difficult in a household. Nikita, what's next? Oh, under marketing. Under marketing, this is again due to cultural norms. Our point here is this. For me and my business, it'll be very easy for me to promote Nikita's business. It's very hard for me to just promote my own business. And this is due to cultural norms. We tend to undervalue ourselves. We tend to, as a result, underprice our products, underprice our services. And then there is the other norm of criticizing each other whenever one steps up in the business world. We tend to support each other by pulling them down with criticisms instead of just providing that platform, that support to our fellow women, as well as other people in our community who are trying to go up that ladder. All right, visibility. I think that ties well with our under marketing as well. For example, one of the panels was sharing today about the traumatic experiences that you go through in your marriage and changing that, turning that pain to power and finding a footing and actually finding a voice. But if you don't share your story, you're not helping those in similar situations as you. If you do share your story, and I do that a lot, you're actually being the voice to those that are going through it. You actually become a beacon of light. You actually become an inspiration and the push that just another fellow woman needs at that time. Oh, I need to wrap up. Let me move on. Okay. All right, recommendations. Religious groups to be open-minded. I I don't need to elaborate on that. Cut cost, really attend to important matters, empowerment and mentor training, gender advocacy on the importance of acknowledging both roles. Okay, develop policy to improve on issues, community holistic buy-in, women, men, youth, children, and the marginalized, and consultations and dialogues. I think those are all recommendations for what I have presented before. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And sorry to cut you short. It's just because we don't want to hold people back from lunch. And Nikita, is anything burning you wanted to add? Oh, no. Anything you wanted to add just briefly? Or okay.
Just something that I saw at all the tables that had sociocultural issues as their topic. The one thing that we really do need more of is just these kinds of dialogues that are safe spaces and trainings to raise awareness around, making the world a more equitable place for women. Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks so much to Nikita. I'm sorry I didn't get your name. I'll talk to you later. And everyone who worked on the fourth topic. I think there's so much meaty, points that were raised by this group and by all the groups. And I really kind of hate to cut it short, but at the same time, you don't want to keep people, particularly from the Pacific, from lunch. So what we're going to do is just say a very big thank you to everyone for coming. I would like to invite, if I can invite the panelists to just come forward. We've just got a small token of appreciation for your participation in the panel. So sorry to make you guys, we're making you work for your lunch coming up and down. And I'd like to invite my colleagues, Rishika and Rachel, if they could present little gifts. So we at GGI, we always try to support entrepreneurs where possible, and we love green gifts. So we're happy to support one of our entrepreneurs, Pink and Grace, with some little gifts of living and sustainable gifts, I think. All right. Thank you. Oh, in front. On stage. I'm sorry, we didn't plan this part. Oh. Awesome. Thank you so much. Okay. Awesome. So as we give out the, maybe we can ask the next panelist, maybe Esther, to come on stage. I just wanted to say, like, we notice a lot of great discussions happening in the groups, hopefully also new connections with people you haven't met before. Please, over lunch, over the next rest of the 2 days, please continue those discussions. Networking is part of breaking these barriers down, helping to empower women and men entrepreneurs. Thank you so much, Esther. Thank you, Ruth. Really appreciate it. And for saying such nice things about GGI too. We didn't tell her to do that. Thank you. Awesome. And last but certainly not least, Nikita. Great. So thank you so much. I think there were awesome stories shared, but inspired probably by the panelists, but also a wealth of knowledge and experience in this room. So really appreciate you sharing with us today. Thank you. And lunch is in the Lavuka room, which is a kind of a cross. You can follow, probably follow your nose to find the food. Thank you.